And he's going to be speaking to us about Atlantis, the legacy of Atlantis, and how it's going to be used now. So I introduce you to Ingo.
Thank you, Betsy. And actually, this was her idea. Like we were talking before, I went this trip to Bulgaria, and she suggested that Atlantis would be a good topic to speak on. And I was kind of I didn't understand at the time why, but after that trip, I definitely understand now, because Bulgaria is actually it's where the Atlanteans migrated after the fall of Atlantis. It's one of many places, of course, Egypt. There's, of course, the Americas, and there's many islands like the Canary Islands, the Azores Islands, as well as some parts of Asia. So there's many places where the Atlanteans, after the fall of Atlantis, went, and one of them is Europe, Bulgaria being one of the countries. And there's an ancient tribe there called the Thracian tribe, which they're direct descendants of the Atlanteans. And so we got to visit many of their sites, many of the what's called Mugili, which is a pyramid-like structure. It's like a dome on the inside. And those are used as temples in ancient Atlantis, and then they got passed down to the Thracians and all the other tribes that got to inherit this legacy. So I would say that pretty much every person in this room has had some experience with the Atlanteans. Like that's our ancestors. So we are the Atlanteans. We're just here to remember who we are, what we did, and why it's important. So the rise and fall of Atlantis spans between 50,000 BC and 10,000 BC, and that was when the floods happened, and we're going to talk about why that occurred and why Atlantis fell. And because of the time frame, it's so many thousands of years ago, a lot of that history has been lost. And it's also because there has been a lot of interference by some not so positive alien extraterrestrial groups that wanted to control, dominate, so they don't want us to remember our legacy. And it's our legacy, it's part of our mission on this ascension path, the ascension timeline, to remember who we are and the greatness that we are and what we've done and what we came here to accomplish. In the beginning, the Atlanteans lived in love, unity, and peace. It was a very utopian society. It was basically what Earth was meant to be. Even Lemuria and many other civilizations, both on this planet and many other planets, were meant to embody the Christ consciousness. And we say the consciousness because that's a form of being, an essence, which is of unity consciousness, of the law of one. So it's not Christ necessarily as a historical figure, it's the Christ consciousness as a concept, a way of being, as something that we all should embody in how we create these incredible civilizations that can time travel, that can do practically anything you can imagine, like we can do and we have done. And so we need to remember who we are and what we have done in the past. So as the Atlanteans, as they progressed, a lot of interferences happened, and one of which was caused by the ego and what's within, the desire for greed, the desire for power over others, the desire for being better than others. And that's one of the main reasons that has brought about the fall of many civilizations, including Atlantis. There were two main factions within Atlantis. There were the children of the law of one, who were the Christ consciousness embodiment, And then there were the sons of Belial, who were the Luciferian consciousness, for lack of better words. But they were the service to self, controlling. They wanted to use up all the earth's resources, energy, for personal gain, for destruction, and for gaining control over others. And this doesn't start with the Atlanteans, of course. There's many civilizations in the past. This has been going on for eons, millions and millions of years. Kind of the war between good and evil. But you know, and duality itself is a concept of this universe. There's some universes where there is no duality, there is no good or bad. So we can kind of embody that as well, non-duality, and not taking sides, not saying these are the good guys, these are the bad sides. Because when you think about it, most sides think that they're right, most sides think that they're good. They think that they're the righteous ones, they think that they're the ones who are doing divine work. When in reality, there are divine laws, and we have in this universe complete free will. There's many different points of view, there's many different things that both factions in Atlantis were doing. And some of them were good, some of them were bad, as generally is considered. But in general, there is one law that is the most important in all universes, and that's the law of one. And that's because we are a part of Source, that's because we are a part of God. And as such, we are part of everything. God is an ever-permeating energy that passes through everything. And so by separating from that consciousness, by separating from God, we are already creating a distortion. We are already creating something that is separate from Source. And so that's what the Sons of Belial were doing. There were many other extraterrestrial groups involved within the Atlantean civilization. Some were from Nibiru, some were the Anunnaki. The Syrian group tried to prevent a lot of the things that were going on, such as the Sons of Belial were taking energy from the core of the Earth, along with the other extraterrestrials, and they were using laser technology to dig into the Earth, and there's many sites around the world where you can see where they did this and how they drilled into the Earth. And this connected to crystal caverns, which were then used as power generators. And I know one of those centers is in Belize, and there's many others where they had power generating stations under the earth. And from those power generators, they were powering everything. They were powering their cities, their vehicles, their technology, their crystal communications devices, kind of like the cell phones we have now, except this was organic, much more advanced technology. So everything was powered free of cost, without charge, from the center of the earth and from these crystal caverns. And however, there was also weapons that were being powered by this technology. And the Sons of Belial were abusing their power, and they were taking this energy, using it for personal gain, for power over others. And the Syrians warned them about this. The Syrians warned the surface population that there may be a cataclysm that will occur. However, no one listened. They kept abusing their power, abusing these power generators, and eventually, so the Atlantean cataclysms, there were 3, but there were, so it was a series of events, one serving as a warning for the next until the final one, which was where Atlantis sunk under the ocean. And if we have to speak of a geographical location, Atlantis, the mainland, was right where the Bermuda Triangle is today. So all of these, I used to ask why am I in Florida, and now it all makes sense. It's because this is essentially Atlantean land. This is as close as we can get to Atlantis, the Americas, North America, all the South American countries, all the islands. All of those were Atlantean land, and so that's where, after this flood happened, that's where the Atlanteans migrated. There's a lot of ancient history sites, as well as ley line intersections, and there's also a Stargate here in Florida, and as well as around the Key West in Florida. You can, I was told in a download that you can connect directly with the Atlantean consciousness there. And there's a Stargate in Sarasota, Florida. And all of these energetic points are connected. And by interfacing with them, by linking with them, we can learn and we can receive downloads and find out more of who we are. So the Atlantean cataclysms, they happened as a series, and it was because of distortions and power abuse that happened. The sons of Belial, they lost their connection to Source by rejecting the natural laws and replacing them with an artificial reality, which was based on the Kabbalah tree of life. And this is a limited connection point that only goes up to the 10th dimension. And this is also a reversal system and a disconnection from organic infinite source energy. It corrupts and damages DNA, which eventually led to the disagreements between the children of the Law of One and the sons of Belial. So this technology that they were using, it went along with also genetic experimentation, and this dates back to the Anunnaki. They were experimenting genetically with humans. They were combining, splicing DNA. That's why in the Egyptian temples, where the Atlanteans went afterwards, it's another one of the migration sites, you see a lot of these beings who have animal heads and a human body. And so those were genetically altered beings. And they were also revered as gods by the Egyptian people at the time, but that's because they were the creation of the Atlanteans. So the Atlanteans were already at a very high level of consciousness, both sides. So even their genetic manipulations, even the beings that they created, were also brought up and raised to a very high level of consciousness. And so after the fall of Atlantis, one of the main points was Egypt, one of the main migration points. And it is said that there are halls, records of information, and now they're finding these structures under the pyramids, under the Great Sphinx. So it's interesting to think, what are those structures? It's these cylindrical structures with copper coils around them. I believe that the Hall of Records is more so etheric in nature, so it's something that we can all tap into, we can connect to. But it's interesting to see some of the ancient technology that was used, the pyramids being used as ascension chambers, as amplifiers of energy, and as communication devices. And a lot of the technology during the Atlantean times was also had to do with these things: regeneration chambers, ascension chambers. And I actually went to a site like this in Bulgaria on the trip. It was inside one of the Thracian temples. They're called Mugili. And inside of it, I was led to sit down on a stone, and it's actually in one of the pictures on it's the second picture here on the last page. And within this temple, I was led to sit down on one of the stones, and I immediately connected with the Atlantean consciousness. And I started getting this internal body clearing, like there were slight body shakes, like there were impurities that were leaving my body. So I was receiving a healing from this temple. And it felt like my body was being regenerated on every level. So that's one of that's just one out of countless of these temples, and that's just in Bulgaria. And these are spread all across the world. There's many pyramids that are both explored and also remain hidden. If you see a mountain sometimes that kind of looks like a pyramid, it may be an actual pyramid that was used for these purposes as a temple, as energy amplification, connection, ascension, regeneration technology. So on this trip, I also got led to one energetic crossing point, which was prophesied by the ancient prophet Vanga, who is a Bulgarian prophet. And my mother actually had a dream with Vanga before I was born, that she would have two sons and they would go very far away geographically. And that dream pretty much came true. My brother and I came to the United States from Bulgaria. And there were more things to that dream, but I will not talk about them now, maybe in another lecture. And by going there, and this was actually the place where my parents met also, which is kind of interesting that my mother had that dream. And then in the exact place where they met, there's this energy vortex, energy center that was built and prophesied by Baba Vanga, who was in my mother's dream. It was actually built by Lumina, who is, she was the wife of the Prime Minister of Bulgaria at the time. She was very spiritual, she was very much into esoterics and ancient wisdom and knowledge. And however, she died tragically, and it's believed that there may be other reasons behind that, because she was going to disclose some of this information and some knowledge and wisdom that was hidden from us. And so at this energy point, at this energy crossing center, and that's in the first picture on the back page, and that's me doing, I'm doing the triangle with my hands, and this is actually, it opens up a portal through which the Arcturian beings can come in and do psychic surgery and work. And I used to do this symbol naturally as I do healings, but then I saw artist depictions of Arcturians, and they were doing the same thing, so it kind of tied things together for me. And so at this site, I received a download and a connection to the Atlanteans. I had another download prior to the Bulgarian trip, in which I saw myself as going where the Bermuda Triangle is under the water, and I saw a door opening up at the bottom of the ocean, and inside of it was a hologram within the hologram. It was like an entirely different reality, with different kinds of beings that were there, and it was like an entire world within a world. And so when I went to that energy center, I received that this was actually the fifth dimensional hologram that was that lays beneath Atlantis. And some of these beings from Atlantis, some of the wiser ones, the elders, they knew that the end was coming. They knew that they were going to go underwater. So some of them migrated, others managed to transition into a fifth dimensional consciousness. And that's something that, that in itself is a form of technology. You can call it an awareness of how we can shift dimensionally, but there are many worlds within the inner earth that are at a higher dimensional frequency, and they are the dream keepers. They can appear in your dreams. They can give you healing, knowledge, information, activations, and you can also connect with them consciously. There's many places such as Telos, which is underneath Mount Shasta. You can go there and connect with, this is on the west coast of the United States, so it's more so on the Lemurian side, which was towards Hawaii, California, that region of ancient civilization. And so all of these inner beings, inner earth beings, they're here to help us remember. And I was told during that vision that a lot of this contact, a lot of this conscious communication is increasing, and that's because for the purposes of us remembering. And let's go back here. So after I received that download with the underwater civilization, the higher dimensional, fifth dimensional reality beings, I was very surprised to connect with that same energy at Ludmila Zhivkova's center, because I wasn't expecting all of this Atlantean knowledge to come and stream down to me. And there were many races that are within this reality. There were praying mantis beings, Andromedans, Syrians, of course the Atlantean civilization, the Lemurians, and all of them are actively working with the surface population. All of them are actively working with also other consciousnesses from the cosmos to awaken the earth and also to activate Earth's energy centers. So there is a grid around the earth. There are many energetic ley lines, and we can all connect with and work with these grids, and we receive a mutual activation from the earth. The earth activates us, and we activate the earth simultaneously. One interesting aspect that shows how revered the Atlanteans were during their existence here on Earth was in Plato's writings. After Atlantis sunk, people in the surrounding areas refused to eat the fish because the fish ate Atlantean bodies after the fall of Atlantis. And he also wrote that the sea stopped. So it was very, very significant, symbolizing how revered, how important the Atlantean civilization was at the time. And so we go now to how is this information relevant to the present day. We brushed up on some of the concepts, such as the communication with inner earth beings, such as the ascension cycle and what's going on currently. One of the main reasons for this talk is to bring to our awareness that history repeats itself. And this happened with the Lemurians, this happened with the Atlanteans, and it is our job to make sure that it doesn't happen to us. And so we need to learn from these lessons of being of service to others, of service to the law of one, being of the law of one, and recognize that as an essential part of our mission, an essential part of our purpose here on earth. Because in this world there are still a lot of controlling factions. There are still some reptilian and draconian factions that are here on earth, and a lot of these beings are still in power. So we can learn, we can take what we learned from Atlantis, we can take what we learned from Lemuria and our ancient galactic history, to not repeat the same mistakes, to not fall into greed, to not fall into service to self, to embrace the Christ consciousness within, and to be fully part of the whole, fully of service to others. And that includes ourselves. You know, we are part of the others, so we're not just giving ourselves away, we are part of the whole. Are we on the same trajectory today as Atlantis was? Are we living according to the law of one, or serving the Luciferian agenda of disunity, greed, and power over others? Are we going to destroy ourselves and our planet, or are we going to work in unity towards love, truth, and wisdom? These are some of the questions that we can ask ourselves, that we can ask those in power, in the most loving and polite way possible. You know, I don't believe that there needs to be a revolution, because that implies fighting, but more so an evolution. There needs to be new governmental structures, there needs to be new systems where they're so good, they're so in service to others, they're so in service to the whole, where everyone's living in this beautiful reality where everything's provided for. There's no suffering, there's no poverty, there's no fighting. And we can accomplish, we can build these societies on a smaller scale, and then people join. And the more people that join, there's simply no need for the structures of the past. There's no need for the Luciferian control. There's no need to look up to others who are in power and be of service to them for their personal gain. We can just be in service to the greater whole and to our divine essence. Another reason for for learning Atlantean history is we can learn how to interact with these ancient sites and these ancient technologies that were buried under the ground, as well as on the surface. You know, there's many rocks, formations, you know, in the form of that contain some of that energy. Some of them were formed in it's somewhat of an unnatural shape. As you can see, this is one of the portals here in Bulgaria, and these two top rocks were just placed there. It definitely doesn't seem like a natural formation, and these are multiple ton structures. You know, it's very interesting how they got like that. And this was actually a portal, and that was part of my trip, was going to these, it was a series of portals. So as we got onto the land, we interfaced with these structures, these stones, by placing hands on them and sitting on them. And as I did that, I had a vision of a group of 12 elders surrounding a giant blue crystal in the middle. And I could see all the other portals and energetic centers in that area lighting up. And that was also connecting with the Earth's grid.
Were there four portals?
So there were Yeah, it was actually four main
Yeah,
four
I was
main
seeing it
points
when you
where we touched. One of them we laid on top of the rock, and so each one of them brought a different activation and a different. It was like ascending through the levels of consciousness as we got to that main one that was on top, and that was the feminine energy. So that was very prevalent there, and just by being near it and touching the rock, I was receiving downloads. I had visions of spaceships coming in, and some of those were the invading forces. I saw fighting, and but in itself, it's a very cleansing, very clearing point. And through these portals, we can, with our consciousness, we can travel to all the other portals, and we can connect and interface with all these other geographical locations. And like we said, by doing so, we are helping strengthen the Earth's grid. We're imprinting a part of that energetic site with our energy, what's within our DNA, and we're also receiving something that was left there energetically by the Atlanteans, the Lemurians, the Mayans, or any other ancient civilizations. And this is very important energy work, grid work, and I know a lot of you are already doing this. And it doesn't take much. It can just be a trip where you're enjoying yourself, you're journeying to a sacred site, and you can go there and do a quick meditation. You can say a prayer, set an intention. You can tap in and connect to this technology, and just see what you can receive. See what downloads, what information, what you can feel. One of these journeys, I was actually in Pompeii, in where the volcano blew up, and just by touching the rock, I could see all the suffering of those as the volcano was escaping. I mean, as the volcano was erupting, and everybody was trying to escape, and part of me, the energy that passed through me, was to transform and transmute everything that has happened. And you don't need to consciously be doing that work, but it definitely helps. Our soul knows what to do when you get to that site. Sometimes if you sleep around the sacred site, an ancient area, in the sleep state, the soul will travel and communicate with others who are there and do the work to do some of the heavy lifting. But it really, if you're consciously aware of this work and the energy that's passing through you, you can consciously help to transmute, transform, and raise the overall frequency of the earth. And that makes it easier for the Christed being, the Christ consciousness to be anchored fully here on this planet. Some of the other reasons for studying Atlantean history and how it applies to the modern day is the amazing technologies that we had at that time. A lot of it we've already talked about, had to do with crystal technology. So there were energy sources. There was central crystal that could power up an entire city, and this is technology that we can use today as long as we don't abuse it. Some of the Syrians actually took away some of those technologies so that it's not abused, so that we don't blow ourselves up after the Atlantean cataclysm. But we can rebuild that, and we can get energy, we can get completely free energy, and a lot of these devices do exist. We can get crystal technology for communication purposes. A lot of crystal technology we already use for healing. Crystal healing tools that have special encoding inside, because each crystal has a memory. So the crystal itself can be used as a data bank, and many of the teachings that were passed down to humanity were actually passed down within crystals. There were information stored, encoded within a crystal, and if you know how to work with that crystal, how to read that frequency, how to obtain that information, you can basically know the entire galactic history. You can know anything that's ever happened on this planet, any other planets, and it was all passed down to us through what's called the CDT plates, the Cloister Dora Torah plates. And this was millions and millions of years ago, and there's many other information banks that are both on this planet and elsewhere, and the Syrians have a lot of them as well, where we can learn more about our history, about the technologies that were in use, and how we can use those technologies in the present day. We had crystal-powered vehicles, both flying and amphibian. We had some of the Atlanteans were amphibian, so we had that capability to exist both on the surface, underwater, as well as in the higher dimensions, underneath the surface of the earth in the higher dimensional realms. The healing technology, the crystals were used for rejuvenation, regeneration, healing physical ailments, and age regression. I felt like one of those chambers in that temple that I went to, the Thracian ancient Atlantean temple, that felt like a regeneration temple, a regeneration technology. And I was actually told by the person who brought us there, Peppa Culver, that somebody had actually touched one of these pillars, and they had some pain around the back, the hip area, and just by touching the pillar, the pain immediately went away. And I felt like while being in that temple, as well as after walking out, felt refreshed. And we had just walked for like 12 hours on these ancient sites. I was so dehydrated, and I felt like I felt great. So it's amazing what just the remnants of these technologies can do, much less the real thing that we can relearn and recreate, and some people are already actively doing so. Another download I received was about a frequency transformation device. It looked like these clear crystal tubes that were siphoning out any negative, traumatic, or pain frequencies from the body, clearing the frequency, and then cycling it back into the body. It's kind of like a blood transfusion, except with the energy. It takes the energy out and then cycles it back into the body, and replaces the negative energy, transmutes it into positive, something that can be of service to the person. Of course, there are technologies that can be used for war, but there's plasma technologies and other tech, and that was a part of the destruction of Atlantis. But we need to raise our consciousness to where there is no more need for war, there is no more desire for war. We must live of the law of one, and we must be in service to the whole, in service to source, in service to ourselves, as a part of the whole, but not as better than others. So a lot of these warring technologies, which I will not talk about as to not promote that, you know, they did exist, but there's better ways, and this energy from the crystals, this energy from the earth, from source can be used in much better ways than for our destruction. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Does anyone have any questions that they would want to ask me?
Just from what your last statement, the energy from the crystals opposed to the other, it's the difference between cool energy and hot energy, isn't it?
It can be. Mm-hmm.
Like the plasma's hot energy, lightning would be hot energy, but the crystal is cool energy.
Plasma could be cool too.
Yes, so you know, in healing, as you know, in healing, like sometimes you feel a warming or sometimes a cooling effect depending on what's necessary. So if energy needs to be added, it could be adding, it could be adding warming. If energy needs to be removed, it could feel as more of a cold energy.
But a healing energy is never hot, like burning hot. Might be warm,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not that searing, burning,
It can be.
extinguishing hot.
It can be,
It can be, yeah. I've
depending on the
experienced it.
situation. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So
I've
that's
experienced
well, that's why I was
very-
asking.
Very warm energy.
Charges come, it could get really like fire. When those charges start amplifying and it's like, and it turns like fire. I have felt it. And I'm like, oh, calm down. Yeah, and then we have to let it integrate and stuff like that. I did see, from Angel's video in that site of where he was sitting in the temple, there was a gateway, and I saw the beams, and I saw, the activity that was happening there in that regeneration, temple. So it was pretty neat to see that, and thank you for bringing this information to us. Continue to activate, upgrade, and update the information. So it was beautiful to see. Thank
It was a
you.
beautiful
Thank you
presentation.
for doing this work as well.
I know this is very strong, but how close do you think we are from the situation that happened in Atlantis?
I don't think we're,
I would say there's many different timelines. So those are all like bubbles of potential reality. So there's a timeline where none of that happens, and there's a timeline where all of it happens, and everything and everything in between. So I feel that it's important to always remain on the highest potential timeline. So being on the timeline where we live in perfect unity, where there's no natural disasters, no destruction, and the more we do that as a collective, the more we strengthen and amplify that to happen, the more we collectively jump on that timeline. So everything would be in terms of probability and potentials. I think we do have a lot of, I think we do have time, you know, there's many beings, there's many consciousnesses, including us, working actively in raising the collective frequency. So I do believe, you know, we can collectively shift into a higher potential timeline where the disaster doesn't happen. So it all depends, you know, it depends on us and the work that we do every single day.
The site that you visited in Bulgaria, is that open to the public or you have to have special permission?
Yes, thank you for asking that. Some of the sites are open to the public. So one of the pictures, the last picture here, This one is open to the public. This is one of the Mugili, one of the Thracian temples, and some of them have been, touched by humans. Some of the things, some of the original technology there was taken, and there's like an entrance. You go in, kind of like a museum. Others remain hidden, where you have to drive, and it's literally in the middle of the woods. The one in the beginning that I was talking about, the healing center, this one is actually, access was restricted, and I read about it online, and it said there's no way to get there, it's under lock and key, there's security, but I knew that, my guidance told me that I would be allowed in, and that morning, and when I went there, security let me in. They didn't ask any questions.
Oh, wow. See, you had to be
I
there.
was guided to the exact place. It was literally in the middle of the woods. I had to walk a little bit, and when I found the spot, I just experienced this overwhelming calmness, relaxation, and that's some of the stones from that site were imported from Tibet, so there's added influence as well. But the temples, those contain incredible healing energy just by being around it, just by touching the stone. So in short, yes, some of them you can randomly stumble upon. Others have been found and kind of commercialized. It really depends.
I have a question back here. I'm looking at the picture with the spheres, and that reminds me of the Bosnia stones and the spheres that they find in Bosnia. Do you see any type of connection, and do you touch these stones?
Yes, absolutely. So when I touched the Mugila, it felt like 0 point energy. That's what these structures have the ability to generate. And inside of it, it's incredible acoustics. So you can, if you do sound healing, it's very, everything is amplified. So the ones in Bosnia, I haven't physically been to those, but it's a very similar concept. It's all of these are connected as energy points. As well as I know in Peru, there's so many of these sites, as well as stargates. Just by connecting to one, I feel like that raises your consciousness, amplifies, and then you can connect to all the other ones. You can just travel to any site, and they are connected energetically as points along the ley lines and other grids around the earth.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing on it. It was really interesting when you were talking about the portal. I was seeing that once one would get activated, it had a certain frequency that it was connected to, but it was connected to a color. And so once that one turned on, it activated all the other ones, which I was seeing there were 4, and then each one had a different color that it was connecting to. And so I feel that if you would go to those other portals, you would have a totally different experience. So that was very interesting.
Those colors too. Yeah.
And then of course the first one, once you activate that first one, it goes to other ones. And that's what I was kind of like seeing. There was even one that I saw that it connected with the UK, up in the UK, and it was going to, it almost seems like it was very similar, like when you send a laser to a mirror and it starts bouncing out in different areas. That's kind of like the type of situation I was seeing that was happening there. So it was very interesting.
Yeah, that's exactly how they connect. That's awesome, and that's beautiful to me that we can, just by speaking of this, somebody who is perceptive is able to see exactly what you were talking about, and that's how we were meant to live. That's our natural.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
That's how we all have that ability to live.
Any other questions?
Well, not a question, just an endorsement. Angel has done some very important research, and he's incorporated the result of his research into his healing work. He's a licensed massage therapist, but he goes way, way, way beyond that, so
Oh,
speaking
yeah,
from
absolutely, he
personal
does.
experience, I highly endorse his work.
Oh, yes, he's very good at what he does.
Yes, he is.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much. And also to speak of the tachyon energy, Charles has some incredible inventions that are charged. I'm actually wearing some right now. Stem cell regeneration and very beautiful work that can heal the body just by wearing it or using it in your daily practice.
Very good. All right, so thank you very much. Now we're going to start with our oh yeah, I'm going to be doing a level 2 galactic healing class. And so we're gonna be starting on Wednesday. And so if anybody is interested that hasn't already signed up, please let me know. It's gonna be an awesome class. I'm gonna be doing an activation in each class because not only are you going to be learning the technique, I also want everyone to increase their vibration as well, and also release anything that they might not really want. And so when you finish the class, you're gonna be stronger than when you first started with it. And also walk away with the knowledge. And so this is gonna be an awesome class, and I think anyone that has an opportunity to take it will be a positive thing. So, and just think of the people you can help out with this too.
Take level 1 before you take this.
You know, it depends on what kind of vibrational frequency I feel like you're at. Yeah, and you can always talk to me and I'll see whether or not you're ready.